forsaken booth. The truth is you sadly mistaken. Proof I'm better than.
Welcome to 3countcommentaries. We got to talk about Smackdown from December the 17th, 2021. A interesting Smackdown. Ended very, very strong, but kind of got a little weak in the middle. I don't blame anybody who tuned out about an hour and a half in. We're also going to talk about Roman Reigns' shirt and the hubbub that began from the shirt. I was going to do a video on the shirt, but I decided we're just going to talk about it here. You're going to talk about Roman Reigns' needle mover shirt. And that Roman Reigns, he really don't like CM Punk. He don't like that guy. Which, of course, we already knew that. So, we'll talk about that. See if some other stuff pops up during that time. But we're going to have some fun here. We're going to try to anyway. So, the opening of the show, for the first time in what seems like forever, SmackDown actually opens with a match. Sasha Banks and Toni Storm versus Shotzi Blackheart and Charlotte Flair. Only problem I had with this match was that Toni was already in the ring. She didn't get an introduction. So she was already in the ring when Sasha came in. Shotzi and Charlotte got introductions. This match was 25 minutes. 25. This was the first half hour of the show. Totally unnecessary. Far too long. But and there was some I liked the match mostly, but it wasn't perfect. You know, there were some things about it that kind of pissed me off. Like how Shotzi let Sasha just tag out. It seemed very odd to me. You know, the spot was Sasha was babyface in peril, but she wasn't babyface in peril for very long. They did a couple of spots too where I think Charlotte had slammed her up against the ring apron and some other stuff, maybe the barricade. She held her in place on the ropes and then told Shotzi to tag her. Shotzi tags her, runs to the ropes, and going to do a senton on the ropes. She moves. Sasha moves. Shotzi bounces off. She doesn't fall down or anything like that. She's just kind of standing there as if she like twisted her ankle, and she just watches Sasha tag out. And that was the hot tag. And I was like, no, it can't be real. That can't be real. That sucks. and everything seemed to be going smooth up to that point too. The early part of the match had Toni Storm showing off her agility. She got to do some of the old Owen Hart, World of Sport stuff which I miss people doing in wrestling. I miss guys locking up, grabbing an arm, and then somebody doing a cartwheel or a tumble in order to get out of it. I miss that kind of stuff. I popped heavy for seeing that finally in a wrestling match. I popped for them doing tag team moves. Shotzi and Toni Storm. Not Shotzi and Toni Storm, but Toni and Sasha doing tag team moves. Like they did like a double back elbow. They did some other cool tag team stuff too. So you could tell that it was most likely Sasha calling the match because, they were doing tag team stuff. And I was like, that was cool. And that, as long as that stuff was going on, that would make me happy. This match was on for a pretty long time before they started trying to establish some heat. They established heat like way late in the show, in the match. And then they just basically blew the heat off. I don't know. Shotzi didn't look great, but she looked a little bit lost. But she was okay. I loved the finish with Toni countering the double moonsault spot, which they still haven't gotten correct. And then she rolls Charlotte up and pins her. Crowd erupted. She got a great reaction. This is what the pies in the face was for, guys. Hey, you make her look like an underdog. Then she beats Charlotte. Now they believe in her. Now, next week, they're going to have the championship match, Toni Storm versus Charlotte Flair. And, because it's not going to be at day one, I'm really concerned that Toni is just going to lose. But I don't know if they will be able to keep Charlotte off that show. I mean, you can tell me Madcap Moss is going to get on that show, but Charlotte isn't. I don't know about that. So I'm thinking maybe Toni wins and they do the rematch at day one. Or maybe Toni loses and they do the rematch at day one. Maybe Charlotte gets disqualified. Maybe she gets counted out. And this is already going pretty well for Tony. She's been performing very well in her matches. She hasn't sucked in any of these matches so far. And her promo skills are much better than they were in NXT. So whatever extra stuff she's doing, probably working house shows and everything, is actually working. Shotzi's a little bit better than she was too. I think she's still very awkward as a heel. It's not her natural alignment. She's got to get used to it. You know, a lot of her moveset pops the crowd because she does a lot of Daredevil stuff. So now she's got to change her style. And it seems like she really haven't gotten the hang of it yet. So it's been, what, a month? Maybe? 4 weeks? Maybe? Maybe a little over a month since she turned heel. And give her a little bit more time. This match was too long. It was 25 minutes. It was too damn long. Everyone decided to hail King Woods. King Woods had Rick Boogs kiss his hand. Then the Usos called them cosplayers and pretenders. Woods said they're going to beat them tonight and then beat them again on day one. And I was like, are you serious? And no, they were serious. They had a match. The Usos versus the New Day. Again. For like the third time in 3 weeks. It's like, what? And then the Usos just lost. You know what? As little as said about this, the better. You know, let's just move on. But I will say this. A lot of people, when they discuss in Roman Reigns, they say that Roman Reigns hasn't elevated anybody. And then they'll say, well, he improved the stock of Jey Uso, which he did. He made Jey Uso the man. All right, Jey Uso had a hot streak going. That was undeniable. Main event, Jey Uso, he was tremendous. Then people say, like, well, he ended up being reverted back to what he was before. And it's like, no. His character development has paused. For sure. Same thing with Jimmy. Like, Jimmy's character development has paused. But it ain't over. You can still see that the Usos are still the characters they were. You know, they're just in the same place. Like, you know, them being the tag team champions. Of course, they're a tag team. Of course, they're going to be the tag team champions. But if you watch, like, the Roman segment, you'll see, like, the Usos were still pretty much the characters they were when it was them and Roman. How, you know, Jey Uso continues to pace and be like the guard dog while Jimmy is kind of playing it up and joking and stuff like that. Like, he's just there because Jey is there, you know? Because it was his idea to be the tag team in the first place. So I don't think that they have, quote unquote, reverted. I think that this new, like, they've reached as far as they can go, really, without either one of them actually turning on Roman and becoming a single star, which still could happen in the future. You know, it's okay to pause a character's development for a little while. And then something happens that forces them to go forward. And I think that will end up happening eventually. But I think that people got the wrong idea. They think that, you know, characters develop. And it's like, at some point, characters do get flat. And then they start developing again. And in this case, the Usos have been flat for a little while. So it is time for something to change. Them just losing to the New Day is horrible. It's stupid, you know. And I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to talk about the characters of the Usos, which is what I did. Fuck that match, though. I don't care about that match at all. The Viking Raiders defeated Jinder Mahal and Shanky. I don't see what this was for. What was this about? I don't know. The Viking Raiders, they also botched a spot in this match where Jinder Mahal was supposed to throw a clothesline or throw a punch or something, and then the other guy was supposed to cartwheel away. He ended up cartwheeling right into Jinder Mahal's arm. So, it is what it is. Nice to see Jinder back. I don't know why he's losing to the Viking Raiders. Also, not really sure what the Viking Raiders are up to. It seems like there might be something for them in the future. There's something in my mind, and it might just be me. But I'm thinking the Viking Raiders are going to end up teamed up with Drew McIntyre. And something is just telling me, because there's a lot of focus being put on them now. They got a new entrance. They've got a new theme. They're actually on TV winning matches. There's something very suspicious about all of this stuff. And something is telling me that you're probably going to have McIntyre, he's got to fight Roman, but he's going to need somebody to deal with the Usos, right? And something tells me that's going to be the Viking Raiders, and that could work. And it should necessitate a change in the Viking Raiders. I would prefer if they just drop the Viking stuff and just kind of go towards something else. I don't know what, but they look goofy with the helmets, and I don't think the Viking stuff is really working out. They can transition out of that. I think they've been the Viking Raiders long enough. So I think we can transition out of Viking Raiders and have them as a squad with Drew McIntyre. I actually love that idea. Drew McIntyre and the Viking Raiders, they look like the guys that would hang out together. They look like they would have fun together. Otherwise, if the Viking Raiders aren't about to become the tag team champions and feud with the Usos, what are we doing this for? What's the purpose of all this? Natalya threatened Xia Li with a match, and she actually touted her Guinness Book of World Records, where she has the most women's matches and most pay-per-view matches for a woman in WWE history, which makes perfect sense considering the women's division this is the longest the women's division has been able to go on. And it's the most pay-per-views they've ever had. So, sure, whatever. I'm glad Natalya is doing something, and glad this didn't waste too much of our time. The problem with this is I wish Xia Li had showed up. It seemed like a perfect place for her later in the show when Naomi got into it with Shayna Baszler. That seemed like a perfect place for Xia Li to show up, but at the same time, maybe it just wasn't necessary. All right, so Corbin and Madcap Moss, these guys, this was awful. This was every bit as bad as you would think. This was bad on purpose. Now, I get it. Corbin and Moss are bad on purpose. I get the characters. But for Christ's sake, dog, shorten these segments. They have stolen Drew McIntyre's sword, which was trapped in a desk. So it's like King Arthur, And they tell some failed jokes. The crowd actually chants CM Punk for a little bit. You got Happy Corbin. He's cutting cigars on the thing. He got a hat on the sword. I thought that was actually funny. A hat on the sword was actually funny. And then Corbin tells Madcap Moss he can have the sword, but he can't pull the sword from the desk. Then Corbin tries to pull it out. He can't. Then they work together and they still can't. Which of course Drew McIntyre comes out there, and then he pulls the sword from the desk and swings it and nearly murders Baron Corbin. They flee. McIntyre chased them throughout the night looking for them. Corbin signs Madcap Moss up to wrestle Drew McIntyre on day one. And I was like, no. Nope. Nah, man. Nah, dog. Not gonna that one ain't gonna rule. That doesn't work for me, brother. Drew McIntyre needs some help. That's why I think the Viking Raiders probably gonna get put with him. But feuding with Corbin is a death spot for anybody. If you feuding with Corbin, this is the death spot because he is almost an automatic channel changer and an automatic nobody wants to see this guy. This happy thing is not working. Why did this thing call him Casino Corbin? Wouldn't that have made more sense? Jackpot Corbin or something like that. Why the hell they call him Happy Corbin? That's so stupid. It's ridiculous. We're gonna save the Paul Heyman stuff for later. Sami Zayn goes to Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville, wishes them a happy holiday. He says he hates the commercialization of the holidays, but loves the holiday spirit, and thinks that he should be able to get his Universal Championship match, which he is rightfully owed because he was jobbed out by Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville reminded him that he loves the Intercontinental title, which of course he does. Then he says he's going to be in a 12-man gauntlet next week, which the winner will become the number one contender for the Intercontinental Championship. And it features a ragtag of individuals that don't seem to match up together. It features, for the record, let's see if I can find, it's Shanky, Ricochet, the Viking Raiders, Los Lotharios, Mansoor, Cesaro, Sami Zayn, Sheamus, Jinder Mahal, and Drew Gulak. You know what? This is a very, very odd situation. This is weak. This is super weak. There is nobody in this thing that matters. Okay. Drew Gulak has not made an appearance on SmackDown since he was drafted to SmackDown. And his first match is going to be a gauntlet for the Intercontinental Championship opportunity. That makes no sense. Why are tag teams in this? Why is that happening? Look, I get putting Angel and Humberto Carrillo in it. They were feuding with Nakamura. Okay, I get putting them in it. But why is the Viking Raiders in it? I mean, who really cares to see one of the Viking Raiders? Who cares to see the Viking Raiders at all? But who thinks one of the Viking Raiders being put in this match is smart? Why not put McIntyre and Corbin in this thing and do something very special? Like, they have just exposed the business. They exposed the hell out of the lack of depth in their own division. You know, like, this is why Nakamura hasn't been defending the title. There's only 4 fucking major opponents for him to wrestle. It's either McIntyre, who he's not going to wrestle because he's another babyface, Ricochet, who's also another babyface, or Mansoor, who's another babyface. Where's Mustafa Ali? I think he just had a baby, so okay, maybe that's a little bit different. But most everybody who's in the mid card of SmackDown is in a tag team. You know, you could have put one member of the New Day in here. Why couldn't you put Woods in this? You know, you could have put one. If you were gonna put, like, you could have put one member of each tag team. You could put like a member of the Usos, like Jey Uso. You could have put him in there. You know, you could have put King Woods in there. You could have put Corbin in there. You know, that takes up some spots. You could have put Angel from the Los Lotharios in there. And it at least would have made sense with Los Lotharios because Angel had a match with Nakamura already before. And then you could have put somebody else in there. You know, you already got Sheamus from the Sheamus and Ridge Holland pairing. They just really just decided, you know, this division weak as fuck. So we're just going to throw guys in there. Looking at the list of guys in it, I think Sheamus is the most obvious choice to not only win the match, but end up being the Intercontinental Champion. And to be quite honest, it needs to happen. Nakamura versus Sheamus, I don't know if they've had matches before. Have they had too many matches, Nakamura and Sheamus? That's a fresh program. I like it. You know, I like it. I think that if Nakamura ever wanted to just try to go back into a little bit of the strong style, which I know he doesn't care for anymore, you know, Sheamus is the right guy. If he wants to lay it in at any point, Sheamus is going to be there for him. Because Sheamus is not going to hold back. I hope Nakamura has more than one mouth guard because he's going to need it. But why not go ahead and, you know, I think Drew McIntyre versus Shinsuke Nakamura could be a very good match for television or for day one. The bottom line is the Intercontinental title has to get off of Nakamura. You know, I love Nakamura, but it's got to get off of him, you know. So if it was me booking it, Sheamus would win and Sheamus would win the title. That would be if I was booking it. If WWE is booking it, who knows? I have no idea. But I think we can be fairly sure who it's not. It ain't going to be no member of the Viking Raiders. It ain't going to be Shanky. It ain't going to be Drew Gulak. You know, likely ain't going to be Mansoor either. You know, but very weird. Cesaro is a good choice. I would pick Cesaro to wrestle Nakamura for the title. I think they have history too, being former tag team champions against each other. There's respect there. So there's something to build off of, you know. That's good. But they just had Cesaro lose to Ridge Holland. So let's talk about that. Ridge Holland apparently doesn't have his own theme song anymore. He now comes out to Sheamus' theme. And both of them are two big British guys. Let's say British. Sheamus is British, right? Okay. Because he's from Northern Ireland, right? Okay, so how does that work? In any event, they two British guys with weapons. Jesus, I'm dropping the mic all over the place. Sorry. And here comes Cesaro. You know, got a pretty good reaction. So Holland snuck Cesaro pre-match with his club, hitting him in the rib cage. Cesaro decided to fight through it, and Holland worked the body and managed to win the match. You know, Good for Ridge Holland. Good quality win. Cesaro was not buried in this booking decision because, he did get cheated. He needs some help. I wonder where his help went. Where did it go? Which way did it go? Which way did it go? Which way did it go? I mean, clearly, he just had assistance and now it's gone. Which way did it go and why? Why did Drew McIntyre start feuding with Baron Corbin and leave Cesaro by himself? Why would you do that? Cesaro and McIntyre as a team rules. It's a great idea, and this sucks. It sucks. Naomi and Sonya Deville. Naomi comes out there, wants Sonya Deville one-on-one, keeps calling her out. This doesn't work. This hasn't worked the last 6 times she's tried it, but she decided to do it again. Sonya Deville once again says this is unprofessional. That's why she's wearing the suit. She can't get touched. Says she has an opponent for it. It's once more Shayna Baszler. Shayna Baszler decides to Nancy Kerrigan. Naomi kicked her in the leg, put her in a submission hold. Ref rings the bell. Naomi reverses the submission hold, pins Shayna Baszler. Everybody looks bad. Sonya Deville looks like an idiot because she keeps picking the same heavy who continues to lose. And Shayna Baszler looks like an absolute goof who, even as she jumped her from behind and had her in a submission hold as the bell rang, she still couldn't finish it. She has no killer instinct. What good is a killer with no killer instinct? This is absolutely terrible. She's a toothless tiger. This is awful. And you know what? If they're going to be repetitive with this Naomi thing, it's going to lose how fun it is. Because it's still a really good storyline. But we need at some point to talk about why Naomi doesn't like, why Sonya Deville doesn't like Naomi. And I get that she's explained that Naomi is sort of a waste of time and that she keeps getting opportunities, she keeps dropping the ball. But there has to be something deeper than that. There has to be. They have to eventually explain what's going on. And they have to eventually have the match. You can't tell me they're about to try to drag this thing to WrestleMania. That's virtually impossible. You can't drag this thing to WrestleMania. WrestleMania is 4 months away. What are they going to do? Put Naomi on a stretcher for, 6 weeks? And then that's still not WrestleMania. You still got plenty of weeks between that and then. So that means at some point, maybe even at day one, they're going to have to pay this thing off. Okay. Whatever. So let's talk about Roman Reigns. Because Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman, they did a thing. They had some really good cinematic stuff here. This was really good. Heyman was waiting outside the arena. With the Universal titles, that means he's traveling with the belt, not Roman. And he's waiting for Roman in the parking lot. He's waiting for Roman. It turns out that it's Brock. Brock is there, and Brock says, and this was hilarious, it's quite all right. It's quite all right. And he pats him on the shoulder and calls him advocate. When we come back to Paul Heyman, he's still standing out there like Fry's dog from Futurama. And Roman finally shows up and tells him to meet him in the ring. All right, so we go to the ring. And Roman is wearing the Needle Mover shirt. The Needle Mover shirt is burning the internet alive. They don't know how to handle it. They can't stand it. These people are ripping the skin off their own face. They are losing their minds over this Needle Mover shirt. And I really gotta resist. If I wasn't so tired, I would do a video just on the Needle Mover shirt. The reaction to the Needle Mover shirt has been absolutely indicative of how toxic, brain dead, and horrible wrestling Twitter is. It's awful, okay? Hilarious, but awful. You got people talking about ticket sales, people talking about ratings, people talking about everything possible. He's not moving any needles. He doesn't move anything. Yada, yada, yada. It's like, oh my goodness. You're so worked up. These people are whipped into whipping cream. They are whipped up and tearing themselves apart. It's embarrassing. It's truly embarrassing that you get worked so easily by a t-shirt. And they're probably going to sell a ton of those things. And to be quite honest, the weird thing about it is all the AEW fans were like, Hook is the real needle mover. Or what were they saying? The bunny is the real needle mover. The Ruby Riot is the real needle mover. It's like, man, please stop talking about shows that get, 900,000 views. Like, stop it. Like, stop doing this. Stop doing this to yourself, man. Like these comparisons don't never make you look very good. It only hurts your cause from you making you look this way and act this way. And it's like, yeah, Roman's being petty with the shirt. We know it's a shot at CM Punk, especially with the stars on it and everything. I get it. Now, the shirt, I think is dope, but I don't like that it has insider terms on it. Like, it has jobber on it. Like, I was kind of like, that's kind of cornball circus shit. I don't like when stuff is self-referential like that. It's just weird to me. Like, okay, I'm not a fan. But I think that as a troll shirt, it works. It did its job. The internet was doing nothing but promoting that shit for like hours and hours and hours. People with huge accounts are retweeting Roman's shirt, talking about his shirt. And everybody's like, oh, Hook was selling the most shirts on Pro Wrestling Tees. I'm like, so? So what? None of this matters. Roman's going to sell a ton of t-shirts. I mean, we know that, right? So, he's about to sell a bunch of t-shirts. He's about to really cash in on this. I did see I think probably the best criticism of it is that it took WWE so long to create the shirt after the comment was made. After he said that CM Punk can't move the needle. It took them forever to actually get the shirt out. It's been like 4 months, I think they said it was. But I think it was also they wanted to put something new from Roman out for Christmas. And this is another thing I saw, is they were talking about the WrestleMania tickets. And they was like, oh, they're selling WrestleMania tickets. You get, I think it's buy 3, get 1 free or something like that. And they was like, they're giving away WrestleMania tickets already. I'm like, bruh, don't you know what promotion is? A buy 3, get 1 free. That's kind of like a family plan, Buy the kids, the wife, something for Christmas, and you don't have to pay for the 4th ticket. They got 200,000 seats or something like that to fill. There's no reason to let some single man buy the seat when you can sell it in a family package, which is what they're trying to do, especially in December, the biggest shopping time of the year. Of course, you're going to drop the prices on gear. You're going to drop the prices on tickets if you can. If you can afford it, if you think that WrestleMania is going to look like that episode of Raw from St. Paul, Minnesota, it's like, no. Did you see the Chicago show? It was, I think they had like 700 short. They were 700 short of a sellout. So it was probably about 80% full. The Raw that's going to be here in Detroit on the 27th of December, it's about almost 90% full already. So it's got to be the market, or it's just sometimes house shows don't sell, which for obvious reasons, people don't think anything is going to happen at a house show. But it's going to be the individualized market. St. Paul didn't do well, but they seem to do okay in Chicago. They seem to do okay in Detroit. But ultimately, I'm looking at it as a promotional gig. And that's really all this stuff is, including the needle mover shirt. It's just a promotional thing, man. You don't have to beat yourself over the head with it like it's true or it's real. It's not the point. The point is you're talking about Roman Reigns at a time where he took a week off. Everybody was talking about how much they love Brock as the Canadian alpha male buddy hunter guy. And everybody loves Brock. Everybody loves babyface Brock. So Roman went and took a week off and came back with a splash. Now everybody got he got everybody's attention again. And like, I guess having the Bloodline shirt in red didn't do enough. He ain't got to the Cena part where you could sell the same shirt in different colors. He ain't got that far yet. So, but he's getting there. So they're just going to make another shirt. But Roman has, nobody has ever said that Roman had a problem moving merchandise. I ain't never heard of that. So I'm not too concerned about his status as needle mover, As long as SmackDown's ratings don't go down, if they continue to go up with him at the helm, and usually his the ratings for his matches and his segments and stuff like that are pretty high, which is why he has so many segments and matches on TV, even though he doesn't wrestle on TV that often, So this is a good thing, a good troll job from the E. They did a good job really working up the AEW fans, and AEW fans, as usual, despite the fact they call themselves smart marks, tend to be the dumbest in the den. It is what it is. Quote the Raven, the ones who call themselves smart are the easiest to work. So he came out there in Chicago with the needle mover shirt on. Nobody chanted CM Punk. Nobody gave him any fodder. I think he was probably ready for that CM Punk chant. They decided not to do it, though. Chicago instead acknowledged him, and they chanted for him. There was chants for Roman Reigns. He said he doesn't like the Usos losing, but they're family. They can work through it. I think that's a seed that they're planting there with the Usos. Then he says, but Heyman ain't his blood. It can't have the disrespect. And that, of course, if you disrespect him, you're disrespecting his family. Then he says that last week, Paul was looking a little shady. Then he asked him the questions again. Did he know about SummerSlam, Madison Square Garden? Did he know about the suspension being lifted? Are you special counsel or are you an advocate? The crowd is chanting advocate, advocate, advocate. And Paul is squirming. He's like, oh, my tribal chief. Oh no. It was almost like he was Paul Bearer. And so I'm like, oh no. Everybody in this segment did a great job. This segment was awesome. This segment ruled. I love the Usos too because I was watching their reactions and they were really good too. But Paul he's so good. But what made this work was the tension. Roman, of course, is Roman. He's not gonna. This is gonna end very badly for Paul if he doesn't say the right words, and everybody knows it. Most notably, Jimmy knows it because he's laughing in this whole thing. So Paul is under pressure, and he doesn't know what to do. My tribal chief. So then Paul, says, I'm not protecting Brock from you. I'm protecting you from Brock Lesnar. And everybody was like, oh. It was a sick burn. And now Jay is pacing behind Roman with the mean mug. He's pacing and Jimmy is laughing like, oh, we about to beat his ass. This is about to be fun. Roman gives, Heyman a hug, says to him that he loves the wise man. Then he fired him. And everyone's like, oh, no, he got fired. And before he really could leave, Superman punch, boom. And now Heyman's down. Everybody's like, oh, no. Oh, no, it's going to get bad from here. They're going to do the concerto on Paul. But Brock's, his theme hits. The place erupts. Brock then ruins the Usos. Just destroys them, both of them. He ate a super kick from Jimmy. Still got beat up. Roman's got a chair. Brock gets in the ring. Roman hits him with the chair like 3 times, and Brock no-sells the chair. Just beats Roman's ass. 2 F5s to him. Saves Paul. And that's how we end the show. I was like, that fucking ruled. That fucking ruled. That was very good. That was very good stuff. And appropriate with in-character storytelling. Roman Reigns is, despite the fact that he looks strong, he is technically weak. Now, what I mean by weak is that he has these weaknesses. One of them being his paranoia. He's always paranoid that people are out to get him. Like, that was his whole concept with Jay. You want to take my spot? You want to take my place? You want to be the head of the table? That was his whole thing there. You want to take food off my plate? That whole thing. He's got that paranoia. That paranoia is within his character. Of course, he's going to be able to aim it at Paul. And this was going to be the inevitable fallout. of him aiming his paranoia at Paul. You know, he's going to eventually blame everybody for his losses, because that's just kind of how, you know, characters like this work. He is more of a Commodus from Gladiator than, you know, most other, you know, he's a mob boss. Mob bosses are also very paranoid that somebody's going to snitch. You see that in Casino. I think it was in Goodfellas too. I don't remember. Goodfellas, when Henry Hill ended up snitching. You know, when you're at the top, you're always worried about people underneath if you don't have the right confidence. And your confidence can be fragile, you know. So a lot of the Roman stuff that we've got out here, it's all about his, you know, him trying to boost his own ego. That's what the needle mover shirt is about. It's about Roman's ego. Him saying that he's the needle mover. He's the tribal chief. He's the one. It's all about ego. People who are centered on their ego are usually very fragile. They're usually very paranoid. They're weak. So that's the Roman Reigns character. He's not very strong. He's actually the opposite. He's booked very strong. He looks very good. He's very confident, but he's very fragile. So, but to get off that for a moment, a lot of people think this is a ruse. This is going to be a way of Paul and Roman working together to screw over Brock Lesnar. And you know what? I believe that too. It's well within the Paul Heyman school of mischief for him to take one for the team, take one Superman punch for the team, and make people think that Roman is now going to go it alone and that Paul is going to be in the corner of Brock Lesnar, only for him to turn on Brock at the very last minute, costing Brock that match at day one. I truly believe that will occur. Having said that, that happening means that they have to have another match, because they have to have a definitive winner. So if, and probably when, I should probably say, Paul Heyman screws Brock Lesnar out of that match, we kind of have to have a third match, which will probably be some type of gimmick that Brock can lose without looking weak. So it can't be I quit. You know, more than likely it can't be a submission match. You know, it has to be, probably be last man standing or a steel cage or something like that. I don't see why they can't have a Hell in a Cell match without it being Hell in a Cell. Do Hell in a Cell at the Royal Rumble. How about that? Or something fun, you know? But probably not Hell in a Cell at the Royal Rumble. That's an over gimmicked show, if we're being honest. You know, like, fuck it, why not put the Money in the Bank there too? But we got something here that, you know, that could really hook people again. And even if people are tired of the Brock and Roman matches, which, hell, I don't need to see any more of them, if you keep putting good hooks on it, it's a fresh match. You know, like if you keep telling a story and you keep elevating that story, it's a fresh match each time. It's like the Harry Potter novels. Like, there's, 10 of them? It's like the same villain in all of them, isn't it? You know, like, how many times could G.I. Joe fight the Cobra Commander? It's like as many times as necessary, because there's always going to be different stories. How many times can Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fight the Shredder? It's like, how many different plots can the Shredder put up to create? How many times can, you know, Spider-Man fight Dr. Octopus? It's like as many times as Dr. Octopus keeps coming back and creating new scenarios. Batman and the Joker. These two guys are going to be... And the crazy thing is I believe they tried to set up Bray Wyatt to be sort of that guy for Roman several years ago. That they kind of wanted Bray Wyatt to be the Joker to Roman's Batman. That's what they wanted. But then they never had the balls to actually have Bray Wyatt beat him in a match ever. You know, so that didn't occur because nobody saw Bray as being on Roman's level, because he kept fucking losing to Roman like every fucking time he lost to him, every time. So they didn't help, you know. That you got to build Bray up and let him get over at some point. But it seems like they found the perfect opponent for Roman with Brock. You know, it's two powerhouse wrestlers. Both are great babyface and heel. And in this situation, you got a guy like Brock who doesn't really do a lot of storylines. I'm talking legitimate storylines. Most of Brock's storylines is Brock shows up, he bounces in the ring, Paul does all the talking, he defends the title, or he wins the title and he goes on his way. He gets suspended, quote unquote, because he lost his mind, or he quits, or he gets fired, or whatever. And then he comes back in 6 months because, contract time, or it's big money pay-per-view time. In this, Brock is actually working a storyline, because this is a storyline involving Paul and Paul's loyalties, and it's all about whether Brock is showing that he's smarter than the average bear. And he's showing that already with him trying to outsmart Sami Zayn, and him tricking Paul Heyman into doing the reigning and defending, and him outsmarting Paul. So they're showing that Brock is smart. He's a good businessman, which is something I've always heard. And after reading a little bit of his book, something I probably believe. So it seems that he might actually be onto it, which I think could be a better way to tell that story at day one, is that Lesnar thinks that Paul Heyman is in his corner. And then when Paul goes to turn on him, Brock catches him. And it's like, I knew it. I knew you were going to try to stab me in the back. And maybe that little distraction is still enough for him to lose. And, maybe we could bring in another Paul Heyman guy to finish that fight. Because, but it still has to be another match with Roman later on, because it's not going to be a clean win. So, but this is the Brock's first real storyline in ages. Probably since he came back, in 2012. So it's been 9 years or something like that. So it was 2012 when he came back, right? Yeah. So it's been 9 years. This is the first real storyline, So I'm enjoying the hell out of it. And I think everybody's killing it. Everybody's playing their part very well. I would love for them to utilize the Usos more, especially talking, because I've really found that that's what's kind of missing, is Roman having other characters to bounce off of. He's always going to need other characters to bounce off of. And him, not being able to bounce off of Jay, or not being able to bounce off Jimmy, because they're underlings, is hurting his character a little bit. He needs somebody to push him back a little bit. He needs somebody to bully, somebody to corner. But there needs to be people who talking back to him. Like Paul is at least talking back. Even if it's whiny and, spineless, he's at least there to talk so Roman doesn't have to talk so much. So he wouldn't have to be so exposed. The Usos need to do more. That's like my only issue. And I think Brock is doing a tremendous job, because they're not doing too much Brock. He wasn't overexposed last week. I think he did just enough to really get over the new persona, the new character. He was out there wearing flannels and overalls this week. I mean, if you couldn't be more bumpkin than that. What's next week? He's going to show up and start with chewing tobacco. He's going to put a chicken under his arm. He's going to have like a piece of wheat dangling from his lips. I mean, what the fuck is next? What's next? How much further can we go with this? He's going to come out riding a tractor? I mean, what is he going to do? But SmackDown as a show was soft in the middle. That last segment was very good. The opening match was okay, just a little long. Sami Zayn getting put in that silly match. Nah. The Naomi stuff is repetitive, stupid. So mostly a lower quality show than usual for SmackDown. But they delivered on making Tony Storm look good, and they delivered on the Roman Heyman angle. Now we got some stuff to really work with on both of those ends. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like the video, share this video, subscribe to the channel, donate to the channel. Thank you guys for your time. I'll talk to you guys later, man. Peace out.
Old non-aggression. Once that lesson sets in, you'll see a session where you got an affection for no progression.